Hello. So for this job, we edit many kinds of documents, but one of the kinds of documents that we edit a lot are TOEFL essays. And so one way of editing is video editing. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. So we'll usually start out, we'll have the question up here. Some students won't put the question there. In that case, you kind of can sort of gather what the essay is about as you read. So we know that this is an independent TOEFL question because it's an opinion question. And we want to do a quick word count. So we would check how many words. And for an independent question, we want more than 350 words. This one is a little bit short, so we know that maybe it won't have a perfect score. And then we would always want to make sure track changes is on. So as we're editing, they can see what changes we're making. So for example, we might look at this and say, so I personally think it's important for us to get the knowledge which, so we don't tend to say the knowledge unless we're talking about a specific set of knowledge. To get knowledge which is, right, we need this is. And so as we go, we want to make corrections like this, and we want to also try and explain those grammar points. We can't always make every single little correction, especially if the student is lower level. We want to keep the video less than 10 minutes, so we can't explain everything. So in the case that there are a lot of mistakes, and this is maybe a lower level student here, in the case there are many mistakes, we want to just try and hit the most important parts, or maybe some mistakes, kinds of grammar mistakes that are repetitive. Okay, so, or even like things like set phrases. So like the following articles, these aren't really articles as much as we might want to say like the following paragraphs. So, and then also we don't really want to start a sentence with so, but we don't have to say this because maybe it's not the hugest mistake. So just reading, and then we might want to say books, right? For example, as school days, we often take, so here instead of school days, they actually probably mean students. And so we want to make that correction because that's a pretty big one that changes the meaning. Instead of take experiments, this verb is wrong, right? So like we do experiments in science class. So we would go on like this, and we would sort of edit different grammar points. And for the sake of keeping this short, I'm not going to go over every single thing. But so the TOEFL essays are graded out of 5. And so at the end, what I do is I put a score. And so let's say this is probably, knowing this writer, it's probably like a 2.5 out of 5. Meaning that, and there's a grading scale you can take a closer look at. But usually the students will tend to be between a 2.5, 3.5. A 3 is usually someone who makes a fair amount of mistakes, but they make sense, and there aren't major issues in understanding the meaning of what they're saying. When it's under a 3, it starts to be that you're actually having difficulty understanding what they're saying. So we give them a score. We tell them the score in the video. So we'd say your score is a 2.5 out of 5. And then we'd have recommendations. And so here is where I would highlight maybe the main things that I think someone should change. So in this essay, let's say, for example, here we'd say like, make sure to check the meanings of words before using them, or make sure to use the appropriate words, or check that you're using the appropriate words. And then let's see, we could say a common mistake. I'm not sure if this is here, but let's say if there was a lot of mistakes with like subject-verb agreement, we might say subject-verb agreement, meaning like, you should say he runs, they run, but then people, even though there's no S, also run. So things like that, or sometimes I might say something like review past tense and present perfect tense. So we would just highlight the main things that we saw the most in the essay, and then we'll put that down in the recommendations. Usually we put down maybe 2 to 4 different recommendations that stand out, and make sure to be encouraging and say, overall this was a good start of an essay. However, I recommend making these changes. Okay, and then end it and tell them to, keep up the good work, and you can end the video. All right, and so that's just a little peek into what we do here. And please let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.